It's time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. I am Gino Bacola alongside Alexa Zepp. Alexa, it's a fun time of the year where we've moved on from the Triple Crown races. So we're beyond the Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont, but we actually move into some of the mid-tier derbies. A lot of different racetracks will have a Derby race and maybe one of the biggest races of the year at their meet for 3-year-old horses. And we'll get to look at a couple of those tonight at tracks that we don't normally look at all too often. Thistledown has the Ohio Derby. Canterbury Park has the Canterbury Derby. So we'll get to take a look at a couple different tracks that we don't normally look at.
Yeah, it's fun to shine a light on some of the smaller tracks. I've been lucky enough to travel to a lot of different tracks around the US, and they all have such a unique personality, the racing, the people, the environment. And one of these we're going to talk about today, actually, Canterbury. I love this little track. I went a few years ago for a betting tournament, and it was just such a pristine, fun place to be. So it's fun to shine a light on them today.
Yeah, and what's nice about Canterbury, and we'll talk about them in our second segment, they have a really low takeout, which for those of you who are sports bettors, we want to get as much money back as we can of the money that we bet. So Canterbury gives you a really big percentage of that back. They have one of the lowest 10% takeouts in the Pick 5. But that's going to be for our second segment. Let's first meet the field for the Ohio Derby, but we want to let you play along with us, follow along through the past performances, everything you need, free picks, data, analysis, scan that QR code right there on your screen, or you can always go to shop.drf.com. That'll get you all the tools that you need when you're playing the races. One thing about this Ohio Derby, Alexa, you have a couple horses who are legitimate contenders. Then it seems like you got a few that are some long shots in here, that the connections of local horses, they're taking a big swing. It's the big race, so why not? Let's see if they're good enough. We start things out with Brereton's Baytown. His last 4 races, he's been in a little bit tough. Last win came on a muddy track 4 starts back. But, you look, he was in the Rebel, he was in the Arkansas Derby and the Peter Pan, so he did face some nice horses. I just don't really know how good he is.
Yeah, for a 3-year-old, he's run quite a few times. He's got 13 starts, only 2 wins, though. And like you said, he kind of tried the Derby Trail a little bit with some of those tougher races earlier this year, and they were just really over his head. But he did run his fastest figures ever in those races, so he does seem like a horse that rises when he faces tougher competition. But I do still think he's probably a little too slow for some of the opponents in here.
Feels like a major player is Chunk of Gold. He actually ran in the Kentucky Derby, and you and I have talked about him a few different times through the last couple months because he ran in the Risen Star, he ran in the Louisiana Derby, he was second in both of those races. Honestly, he finished 9th in the Kentucky Derby. It really wasn't that bad of an effort. He kind of ran up. He was in 4th or 5th early in the stretch before he tired. Feels like this is a way better spot for him. And we have to give a lot of credit to the connections. They purchased this horse for just $2,500, and he was running in the Kentucky Derby, and he's multiple graded stakes placed. As an owner and as someone who looks into horses at sales and is involved in that world, you have to be so impressed with how they purchased this horse for $2,500.
That is such a win.
Right?
Oh my God. Yeah, that is. For those of you who don't know, horses sell for a lot.
Hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars. And a lot of these horses who are in the Derby and are in these tough races, they spend a crazy amount of money because, they're trying to buy a winner based on the breeding. So yeah, to have an underdog like that is fantastic. And like you said, a really respectable finish in the Derby. 9th place in the Derby is not bad, and he has the same trainer jockey today, same connections. He's a closer, so he'll probably be near the back early, I would imagine. But yeah, really, really strong player in here.
Capo Luca is one of these local horses that's going to be stepping up. We have no idea really how good the horses that he's faced are, but he's 3 for 3 at Thistledown, so he likes this track, and now he steps up and he faces tougher.
Yeah, he's really consistently progressing, and I actually really like him as a price play in here. His trainer has a super ridiculously high win rate at this meet,
Yep.
42%. That's huge in horse racing, and that's out of 43 starters. So it's not like 42%, with 10 starters. He's really winning right now. So he's on fire. I wouldn't sleep on this one. He's got the home field advantage.
McAfee is actually a half sibling to Torpedo Anna, who has been one of the best horses in training over the last couple years. And McAfee kind of had his big claim to fame in the Peter Pan. They made an equipment change. They put the blinkers on him, Alexa, and he really showed improvement. He was in the race a lot earlier. He showed a lot more early speed with those blinkers. So if he's able to improve off of that effort, I think he's a major player in here. I thought this was a really good finish when he was second in the Peter Pan.
Yeah, I like him a lot too, Gino. I think my only concern is the distance might be a little bit long for him,
Agreed.
but he did get really close in the Peter Pan. Like you're seeing, this is going to be an easier field. He's a tepid favorite, which I like. He's morning line 3-1 or plus 300. So hopefully he'll keep those odds or maybe even tick up a little bit and be a good play.
Extradition just seems like a bit of a long shot in here. He was no match for Capo Luca, so he's going to have to turn the tables on that horse and then some other tougher rivals.
Yeah, I had a pun. He should be extradited from this race. I just don't think he's
But
going to here.
right? Clever Again was actually a really wise guy horse in the Preakness. He was only 5-1 in the Preakness. He got the lead. He sort of got the trip he wanted. That field was just a little bit too good. He's like a really tricky read for me because he obviously has talent, but he seems kind of one-dimensional, like he just wants the lead, and he might have to face some other speed horses in here. We're showing you a replay of him winning. This was back at Oaklawn Park in March. So I respect him as a horse. I don't really know what to do with him overall in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge race at Oaklawn, but then kind of blew it in the Preakness. Some excuses that day. Like you said, really tough race, but he's going to want the lead and not look back. The only thing is he has Moplex, the number 10 on the outside, who's also going to be a big speed threat in here. So now he has a bit more experience running this distance than Moplex. So I can see him getting the spot, getting comfortable and wiring the field, but I could also see those two hooking up, burning each other out and leaving the field open for a closer to take over.
If you're looking at the projector on the screen, you can see that the 10, the 6, and even the 9 are all supposed to be pretty close early on. And I think that's what could make things a little difficult for Clever Again. How about Bohemian Style? If they were to win this race, Alexa, it'd be pretty impressive. They just claim this horse for 12,500 and they step him way up into a graded stakes here. I applaud the ambitiousness of this group, but I just feel like he's in tough.
He's in tough. I think he's too slow here. He's owned and trained by the same person, so they're just taking a shot. But it's too big of a step for me to get behind him.
Yep. Curvino is just 1 for 12 overall. He is the type of horse who I could see being a late runner who picks up some pieces. Like he's gonna have to get a little bit faster than he is, but he's not a hopeless long shot. Like some of these others in here, you feel like, gosh, a lot of things would have to happen for them to get the job done. What do you think about Curvino?
He's a closer who just kind of struggles to get that final push he needs to get the job done. He's had 1 win in 12 starts, but he hits the board a lot. I think 8 or 9 times on the board. So his figures, though, speed figures are a little bit light. I think this might be a little bit longer distance than he really likes. He's also cross-entered in a race in Kentucky at Churchill, so I'm not sure if he's shipping to this or not.
Master Controller was very impressive on May the 24th. It was his first start as a 3-year-old. So he hadn't raced since November of last year. He showed a lot more speed than he ever had shown before. And if he's able to use that weapon, that early speed, he's going to be a nuisance for Clever Again, at least, right? He's going to at least have a say in this race. I don't know if he's good enough to win. What do you think about Master Controller?
I don't know if I agree he's going to have a say. So when he had that win, he was actually setting kind of slow fractions. Like he definitely had the pace advantage to get out there on the lead and wire it. And it was such a shorter distance. And he's gone longer distances in the past. He hasn't been able to compete. So I really think he's a sprinter and I'm going to pass on him in here.
We round out the field with a very quick New York bred who is sharp. He's been in the money in all 7 of his 7 races. So he's a cool horse to root for. That's Moplex, who we see here. And Moplex was in a battle in the Bayshore, Alexa. It was basically a 2-horse race all the way around. What do you think about Moplex?
My main concern with him is all of his wins have come at 7 furlongs or less. Yeah. And he's stayed in when he's gone a mile. So I do think his job in here is going to be to burn out the favorite so we get some value.
And we see Moplex. He's on the outside. He wears down his rival there. We can pull up selections before the first break. I'm going to put the 4 on top. No surprise there. You and I both going with McAfee off the improved effort. You can see the minors that we have underneath. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll move over to Minnesota for the Canterbury Derby. out to, I believe it's Shakopee, Minnesota for Canterbury Park. And we're going to take a look at the Canterbury Derby coming up, race number 6 on Saturday. What I love about Canterbury, they have a pick 5 every day, Alexa. That is 10% takeout. It is one of the lowest takeout wagers you're going to see in all of horse racing. Our takeout wagers are normally like 12, 15, 20, 25%. So that's so nice knowing that if you win a pick 5 at Canterbury, you're going to get paid more than if you win a pick 5 at other tracks. That's why they try to incentivize you to play some of their races. The 6th race will be the final race of that pick 5 on Saturday. So it's a really important race to be correct about. And what makes it really kind of tough when you're handicapping Canterbury, Alexa, you get horses coming from all these different tracks. So you really got to try to figure out which races are the best. How are these going to stack up? I mean, you have horses that are coming in from Canterbury, Prairie Meadows, Turf Paradise, Lone Star, and Horseshoe Indianapolis. So 5 different tracks for the 7 horses in this race that they all come out of. We start with R&R Audible, whose most recent win came sprinting on the dirt. That's what made him a little tricky for me to get a read on, Alexa. His 2 wins are sprinting on the dirt. And this race is going long on the grass. He only has 1 race going long on the grass. So I had a tough read on him.
Yeah, and that 1 race on the grass wasn't really a stellar performance. I don't think this race setup fits him very well. His trainer has a 3% win rate when he switches his horse from dirt to turf, and a similar 3% win rate when he moves them from a sprint to a route. So when I was looking for a reason to like him, those stats didn't help.
The 2 is a total wild card, Smoke 'em Boy, because all of his good races have been on wet tracks, either muddy tracks or off tracks. He's never been on the grass. He's faced some pretty good horses, though. After his first couple races, they threw him in some tough spots, like the Florida Derby was one of them. I have really no idea what to think of him in here on the grass, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him hit the board or run okay, just because he's faced some pretty decent horses throughout his career. Probably most of his races, he's faced horses better than this one. It's just going to come down to the surface for him.
Yeah, I mean, he started off his career in Puerto Rico, won one of their grade 1 races, which is great, but not like the level of our graded stakes here. And so he came over. The Florida Derby grade 1 was too tough of a spot for him, but he won a stakes at Indiana a month and a half ago. Took a little bit of a step back last out, but like you said, the thing is never run on the turf, so it's going to be a gamble. His breeding, so his sire's progeny don't typically perform that well on the turf, but his mom did win on the grass, going a short distance. I think 4-1 is light on him based on how many factors are up in the air. So from a betting standpoint, I think it's a little bit of a risky bet.
Yeah, you probably want a little more on him in this field that you can, like, nobody would really shock you in this field. Like maybe the one who we just talked a little bit about, but almost everyone else wouldn't really be a big surprise. You can even look at the odds. They're not all separated by that much. I agree. If I'm going to bet Smoke 'em Boy, I probably want like 6-1. Maybe like 8-1, just a little bit higher based on some of those variables you were mentioning. The fun named Seahorse Stampede will try to do just that, stampede home. He's a late closer, Alexa. You can probably just eliminate his dirt race. He didn't really run well, but his grass races are really good. Kind of the opposite of the first 2 horses that we talked about in this field. You kind of know what you're going to get from him. He just needs a little bit of help up front because he's not that fast early in the races. So he needs the races to set up for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of upside for him here. Like you said, they're switching him back to his preferred surface. He's won at this distance before, albeit easier competition, but really lightly raced, only 4 starts. So there's a lot of upside. I think at 6-1, he's worth using in your exotics, if not to win.
And he was right on the wire with Ben and Donner, his rival, on April the 29th. So those 2 are kind of hard to separate, Seahorse Stampede and Ben and Donner. You feel like they're both going to come closing late in this race.
Yeah, and Ben Donner's another really lightly raced horse, only had 3 starts. His lone win was on the dirt, but he's done well on the grass both times. 2nd and 3rd place finishes, both less than a length off of the winner. So I think he does need to take a bit of a step up, but there's no reason to doubt that he can't with what we've seen so far. So I really do like him.
June 2025 makes me feel old because that means it's been 30 years since the movie Clueless was released, when Brittany Murphy was talking about rolling with the homies, as we've got homie number 5 coming up.
I haven't seen
I was going to say, I forget about that. We're like generations apart.
Born that year.
Yeah. Clueless, great movie. Shout out to everyone knows I'm talking about there. And you feel old knowing that that was 30 years ago. But homie, are we gonna be rolling with this homie here who is 2 for 2 for Larry Ravelli? We actually see him winning this race at Horseshoe Indy. He was the 4-5 favorite that day, Alexa. He actually got challenged by a 45-1 shot, but he was able to battle back. So I respect homie's 2 wins, but he hasn't raced since September of last year. So we're getting to a long layoff for him now.
Yeah, he's gonna get some pressure from Sushi Man on the outside, who has faster figures. Even though Homie's figures are a little bit light in here, though, I do think he has merit. He's really
Yeah.
lightly raced. He's never been asked to perform at a higher level yet. So I could see playing him. I don't love the odds. I wish he was more like 6 or 7 to 1. And Sushi Man, like I said, is going to be a tough order to beat for that leader position.
Homie, we'll see if he can get the job done off that long layoff. We move to the outside too. Canyon Streak. He's coming into this race in good form, but all of his races have been against Texas breds. So that's what is a little bit tough. They're not as good as Open Company, right? If you're just facing horses that are bred in Texas. So while he's looked really good in those races, this is probably going to be tougher than what he's been facing, where he's got horses that are coming from all over the place in here to deal with.
This is tougher, but I like them. So one of
Yeah.
my angles, I'll give you guys my secret angle. I love Kitten's Joy horses going long on the turf. I've made a lot of money playing that angle, and he's by Kitten's Joy. He's never done worse than second on the surface, all been at today's distance. He should be forwardly placed, but he doesn't need the lead. So I think he can sit off of Homie and Sushi Man, let them put up all the hard work, kind of draft behind them, and then make a late move. So I am putting Canyon Streak on top.
I upgraded him just because of that. I think he can sit a really nice trip.
Yeah.
Sushi Man rounds out the field. He was very impressive. He won by 7 lengths. But another one, he faced Minnesota breds. So this will be a tougher group because he's going to be facing Open Company in here, Alexa. But I think what we worry about with him, he was on the lead winning, and he'll probably have to face Homie and a couple other early speed horses in this spot on Saturday.
He is, and they start really close to the turn going this distance at the track, and he's drawn the outside. So it's not the ideal position for him to clear and get to that lead. So I think he's definitely beatable, and at 2-1 odds, I'm going to try to beat him.
We round out this race. We take a look at selections. For me, Alexa, I'm going to go Seahorse Stampede. I'm wondering if the 3 horses towards the outside all kind of push each other a little bit, and it could set up for Seahorse Stampede. You got a horse on top who could get a really nice trip. Canyon Streak, who hopes to sit maybe third just behind some of the leaders there. So we take a quick break. When we return, we'll head over to Churchill Downs for our final segment. Talk about a graded stakes race there on Saturday. Finishing up this week with the Grade 2 Chicago over at Churchill Downs. This race was actually upgraded, Alexa, from last year because it's been really strong over the last couple years, and I think it drew a good field again this year. We meet the field for race number 9 at Churchill, the Grade 2 Chicago. There are 2 horses in particular in this race that are coming out of a lot tougher race last time, and I feel like they're horses that are just the major players. That's the 1 Emery and the 5 Vava should just be in a way better spot in here, both of them. What I'm a little worried about, Alexa, with Emery is the draw, the rail, because sometimes in a big field, when you're drawn down to the inside, it could put a little pressure on you and kind of force you to do some things. But I feel like both of those 2 horses are kind of the horses to beat in here.
Definitely, definitely. Emery's really, really talented. And I agree, Gino, this race is really strong. It's a good betting race. It's very competitive. But Emery loves this distance. She's run it 6 times, been first or second every time but one. They were often grade 1 or grade 2 companies, so it's not like she's been up against easy competition. Her poorer performances are on sloppy tracks. So if it is dry tomorrow, I mean, if she wins this race, she's going to hit the $1 million mark in earnings. So that kind of speaks for itself of how talented she is.
Minx Palace is a stakes winner, and she loves Churchill Downs. This is just a little bit tougher group than what she's been facing.
Yeah, historically, her graded stakes competition have resulted in not the greatest outcomes. And I also think she prefers 6 furlongs to 7 as well. So if she runs her absolute best race, she can make an impact, but it doesn't look like her most comfortable spot.
Gray Lightning is multiple stakes placed, but she comes into this race off of tracks like a little bit softer company. So I'm wondering if she's able to step up against this group because she comes in from Hawthorne and Will Rogers Downs, where she just hasn't had to face this tough of horses.
Yeah, since she's gotten these new connections, she hasn't done as well. And I think this is going to be a big step, and she'll probably miss the board.
I like Brightwork a little more than you do, Alexa. She's a 4-year-old filly, and she was a graded stakes winner at 2 years old and at 3 years old. She's now going to make her second start back as a 4-year-old. So I'm just expecting her to improve a little bit now with, getting to string some races together. Give us some thoughts on Brightwork.
I know I left her off. I don't dislike Brightwork. I just think it's going to be a fast pace and she's going to want to be a part of it. And so I'm not sure she'll be able to stick around, but a talented horse.
And in this situation too, like you look at Alexa's top four, it's like I don't have Zetlos as one of mine, but I don't dislike Zetlos. It wouldn't shock me at all to see that horse be competitive. It's just a difficult group. Vava, if she's able to jump back to some of the races she was running a year ago, she's going to win this thing. Like last year at this point, she was awesome. She was at the tip top of the division. And now we can still make a couple excuses for her last few races, Alexa. So I think a good spot for a really good trainer, Cherie DeVoe, to get her back on track.
Yeah, Cherie's great. I was at her barn yesterday morning, actually. She's training my horses, and Vava has 1.8 million in earnings. She's trying to break her very uncharacteristic cold streak in her last few races, but she's back at Churchill, where she's won 4 out of 5. I think 3-1 odds is a really generous price on this proven filly, so I would play her at that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Marmalade Sky, she's won 2 in a row, but now she's stepping up and facing a lot tougher in here.
Yeah, she's not like a totally crazy play to add to the exotics at 20-1. She's coming off 2 lifetime best figures with her both wins, but it's a big step.
Same thing for Harbor Springs. She was behind Minx Palace. So there was a decent 3rd place finish from Harbor Springs, but this is another level up from her here.
Yeah, I've left both Harbor Springs and the 8 Pagale off of my tickets.
I love Peagle. That's what I go with when I talk about Peagle, who's going to come second start back. She's one of those horses who like outruns her odds. I could see using her in like 3rd and 4th. I just don't know if she's good enough to win and beat the top couple in here.
Yeah, the cutback and distance suits her, but again, I'm leaving her off. I like the 9 My Main Squeeze a lot, though. It's my top pick.
She fits really well, right? She's got to turn the tables on Emery, but she hasn't been far behind Emery. She likes Churchill Downs, and she could sit a pretty good trip in here.
Yeah, she's never lost at Churchill Downs, a proven closer, taken down 2 graded races, both at today's distance at the track. Grade 2 8 Bells last May and the Dogwood last fall. I like seeing a horse return to their like favorable track and distance conditions. So I think this is a really good spot.
Claret Beret just won a race by 19 lengths. She was moving into the Safi Joseph Jr. barn for the first time, Alexa's buddy, and he did a great job moving her up. But again, this is another big step up for her. She's just like a total wild card. I have no idea what to think about her.
I know. She likes the distance, never lost at it. I can see her underneath. Her figures are competitive with the rest. It's a big step up. I wish she was longer.
Look at how she's winning by in this race.
It's insane.
It's crazy. As we round out the field with Zetlos, she's a closer. You know what you're going to get from her. She's going to drop back. She's going to make one late run. If they go really fast early, she'll come and run them all down late. And we can move to selections. You have her in your top 4. I left her out, but it's a really competitive race, Alexa. Let us know. Who do you have on top here?
Yep, I've got My Main Squeeze over Emery, Vava, and Zeitler. So I've put those 2 favorites in 2nd and 3rd, try to beat them with a little bit of a price.
Lots of similarities for us. You see, we have the 1, 5, and 9 all together. I'll throw Brightwork on top, looking for a little bit of value. Thanks so much for hanging out with us again this week. We'll see you next week on the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview.